Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're taking a look at game number 2 of Bobby Fischer's My 60 Most Memorable Games. And this one you are in for a treat for. It's Fischer versus Larsen, or the Great Dane. And they're going to be playing one of the most entertaining games, or one of the most fun openings, at least for those that like to attack the dragon defense, right? And of course, we got a very nice name for this one that uh, Bobby Fischer coined himself, slaying the dragon. Let's see how he heroically takes out the dragon from the Great Dane. All right, for those who don't know too much of the theory, I'll go over some of the basics, but I won't crowd you guys too much. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. E4, C5, knight F3, D6. Here we just got a standard Sicilian defense so far. D4, C takes, knight attacks the pawn, knight defends the pawn, and it is at this point now that black now chooses which Sicilian defense they're going to be playing. And in this one, as I said, well, we're going to be seeing the dragon, so G6 gets played, letting out the dragon bishop over here to the G7 square. All right, here we go. Bishop B3 gets played, and bishop to G7. Already be careful, there are some inaccuracies here. Knight G4 was once mentioned by one of my students, and I said, uh-oh, this is a very basic but easy mistake that a lot of people can make here. White to move and win. Do you see what you play? Remember, I do encourage you to push pause throughout the videos to try and do some problem solving yourself. Or if you're just here to enjoy the show, enjoy. Here, bishop b5 check gets played, and, well, there's no good way to get a check here. If you block with the knight, of course, well, I guess we just take and grab the rook. I'll go through that a little bit more for those who didn't calculate all the way through. We'll be grabbing this rook over here. And then, of course, if, let's see, the knight blocks, well, then this is the idea. The knight is now no longer defended, so we just take on g4 over here. And the same thing happens even with bishop to d7. You get to be mean here and, again, take on g4. So you get into a winning position regardless of what happens here. All right. Of course, Larsen is not going to be falling for this. He plays bishop g7. So now if bishop b5 check tries to get played, well, you can just play the king over. With that being said, pawn f3 gets played. This is a very nice standard move here, giving us an attacking pawn formation. What's an attacking pawn formation? Well, the attacking pawn formation is that of the English attack, or the Yugoslav attack, which we will be seeing here today. One of the most aggressive ways to play against the dragon defense. So f3, the idea is to maintain this e4 pawn because this knight might want to move around later on. And it's attacking formation because, well, when opposite side castling happens, which happens in this game, this pawn is helping prepare g4, h4, and h5. And you can see the pawn structure is an attacking pawn structure. They're going for kingside attack. Notice that this f3 pawn help prepares g4, which then helps prepare h5. Remember, when pawns attack, they usually attack on diagonals because that's how they attack. All right, back to the game. Castles happens. Queen goes to d2. Here Fischer's saying, I'm ready to play the most aggressive line against this. I'm going to be castling queenside, and things are going to get crazy. Knight c6, bishop c4. This is a very important move. If you don't play this, then black can actually play d5. Please check out our Accelerated Dragon series where you see the power of pawn to d5. It's a very, very important move that a lot of lower rated players don't know about. If you add this into your game, you're going to be winning a lot more games guaranteed. All right, bishop c4 gets played, so if d5 gets played, I can just take it with the bishop. Knight takes on d4. Bishop takes on d4. Bishop to e6. Again, these are all very nice moves. We're not even out of opening theory yet. One of the reasons why I don't like to play the dragon as much is because, oh my gosh, you could just memorize games and games and theory on theory. And we're already on move, what are we on? We're getting to a move 11 right over here, and the theory is still not done yet. This bishop e6 move is quite interesting. In the game, I like the way Fischer plays it. Bishop to b3. For those of you who are interested, you could take on e6, and after f takes on e6, this double pawn is actually pretty good for black, as it opens up the rook over here. And there's a lot of fun ideas here. For instance, after castles here, if you want to right away, you can just go ahead and play something like knight h5. Now, I'm not saying I recommend this, but this is a way to play, because if the bishop trades, king can take. Maybe knight goes to f4, and well, this is the idea. We want to do a dark square bind. So let's just go e5 first, bishop e3, and then maybe something like knight h5, or maybe even knight to d7. Here you can see the dark squares are definitely working out with black here. Very interesting position. All right, with that being said, Fischer does not go for this because why help your opponent create counterplay to attack you? That's not part of my job. Your job is to attack me. I don't need to help you out with that. So bishop e3, a very good move. Queen to a5, a very aggressive looking move that doesn't really give too much promise. Castle's over here queenside. Again, we're not out of theory yet. And pawn to b5. Let's see, are there any games with this one in the database? There's still quite a few games out of here. We're not done yet. But b5 makes a lot of sense. With the pawn to b5, we're threatening to go pawn to b4. And this is my criticism of this queen to a5 move. With the queen here on a5, it does help prepare b5, but look, you're blocking your own pawn from moving forward. Maybe later on they figured out this was not the best route to achieve your goal of doing the queenside attack. That being said, it looks like black is ahead because, well, white hasn't moved any of these pawns yet. Well, I like the way Fischer plays it. King b1 is a great saying with Grishuk when they were asking about a lot of these Sicilian games. He's like, why do you guys play king b1? He's like, and, Grishuk, one of the great masters of our generation, just confidently says, I don't know why you play b1, but you do it, you know? It's one of those moves that you just have to play. For this instance, it's actually pretty important. There's ideas about playing knight to d5, and you don't want the queen to take in check. As we'll see in the game, this is not allowed. This is why this king b1, at least in this variation, is good. With that being said, mostly in all Sicilians, whenever you cast a queenside, spend that one tempo and go king b1 before things start getting crazy. So king b1 got played, pawn to b4, and here a very nice move here, knight to d5. Again, this is just a nice move here, controlling the center. And well, gosh, we're still in theory here. We're on move 14, guys. I'll let you know when we're out. Knight to d5 is a nice move to control the center here. Basically, anything black can really do here gives white a small advantage. In the game, black plays the best computer move, bishop takes on d5, and bishop takes on d5, a very interesting move. Of course, both moves are going to give white a way to play. That being said, pawn takes d5 is definitely the way that most people and computers are going to be playing these days. This is a very fundamental idea in most Sicilians. You want to take back with your pawn, and then look, now you have this open file, and you have a backwards pawn on the open file. Well, the game's not over yet. Black now has ideas about a5, a4 in the air, and yeah, it's still a Sicilian dragon variation, so these games are very crazy. With that being said, why did Fischer play bishop takes d5? Well, bishop takes d5 has its own merits to it. For instance, whenever they take, well, you're going ahead and getting a free tempo by attacking the rook. And also, one of the bad things and why a lot of people don't like this other variation of pawn takes, look, it blocks your bishop. With that being said, this actually is best because, again, you're protecting this pawn, which, again, is making this pawn a backwards pawn. Oh, by the way, for those of you who are interested, why is knight takes d5 not winning a pawn here? Hopefully you guys can see it. Just simple chess here. We'll simply trade off, and now we see that this guy is hanging over here. Oh, maybe a knight c3 check? Maybe not. After pawn takes, just a simple bishop takes back on c3, and white is just winning here because, well, these bishops are going to be very annoying. Queen d4 is a very big threat that, let's just say, black played queen c7. After queen to d4, it's becoming very, very tough here for black. Oof, you can't even move the f-pawn because of the pin. You have to play something like e5, and everything is just becoming weak at this point. You got a backwards d-pawn now. All right, back to the game. And Fischer decides to play bishop takes d5, which has its own merit. We'll actually see this helps him win the game later on. Rook goes to c8. Now, should we take over here on d5? You can, and maybe that was best, but I assume the reason why Larsen did not want to do this was, again, after knight takes d5, bishop takes, well, you're going to lose your great attacking dark square bishop. That being said, this knight c3 check idea is actually pretty nice now. After pawn takes on c3, oof, yeah, these lines are looking pretty crazy here, and I think black is definitely creating some counterplay here. Actually, here you can play bishop takes c3, right? So here you would then play, what do you play here? King takes g7? King takes g7 is a way to maintain the game, but computer gives this mean-looking rook a b8 here with an advantage for black. Ugh. Would have been cool to see what would have happened. For Larsen's own reasons, he decides not to do this. And after rook c8, well, don't give Fischer an opportunity. He loves this light square bishop. He loves to attack with it. f7 weaknesses. Bishop back to b3. Save it. All right, we continue rook c7. What's black saying? I'm going to double up my rooks and hopefully get some kind of counterplay over here. All right, white's turn. What do you play here? Remember, I'm not asking for a tactic, although every time people usually pause the position, they're saying, what's the best tactic? I'm asking what's the best plan here. You can't just be a good tactician, you have to be good at creating your plans. What's white's best plan here? To create counterplay on the king side. Remember, opposite side castling, opposite sides. We got to push pawns to open up the king side. All right, what happens here? Of course, simple chess. Pawn to h4 gets played with the threat of pawn to h5, g4 coming in. Here we go. Queen b5. What's this move do? Simple chess. As we said, we're trying to push the pawns forward here, so a5, a4 is a new threat here. Let's see who gets to the attack first. h5 gets played. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, there's so many fun variations here that you can really look at. In the game, Larsen goes ahead and just plays rook fc8, which I don't blame him. This doubles up the rooks. I'm not too sure how strong this move is, but it definitely looks very threatening. Taking pawns over here is definitely not going to be the best route. Taking this way, obviously, not a very good idea. g4, you have g5 ideas, rook coming in. No, doubling the pawns won't be good. If the knight takes on h5, here we go. Bishop takes g7. This is all standard ideas. King takes on g7, and the idea is that you want to play queen h6 check, but you can't because of the knight. So, simple chess. Pawn g4, and well, knight f6, and white's just in a winning attack now. Queen h6 check. The king goes to g8. Theory goes on from here, but now you can definitely see that white has a very good position because, well, the h-file's opened up, and I bet no one over here for black is thinking about attacking. They're just looking about how to defend this situation. But g5 moves to be coming in soon. This is actually one of the winning ideas, how Fischer wins in this game. All right, well, back to the game. What else can get played here? We'll just take a look at the game move. Rook fc8. H takes on g6, and this is one of the great things about this is because most of the times you're going to want to take back with the f pawn to keep the h file closed because, well, you can see this is where we want to penetrate on, right? But that being said, with this bishop right here is stopping that from happening. It's also stopping in a good escape square here. So this is why that knight takes d5 probably would have been best earlier. All right, well, h takes back. We got to get the queen over to the h file, so pawn to g4, simple chess, queen h2. Ideas are now in the air. Pawn to a5. It looks like black's attack is now coming back with a vengeance. Here you see pawn to a4 is coming, and, well, the bishop's going to be pretty much trapped here. Or maybe you have to deal with rook takes c2 ideas, giving up the two rooks for the queen. Again, all complications that black is going to want to have because, well, when your opponent's knocking out the door, you want to have your own threats ready at hand. So what happens here? Of course, the most aggressive move, pawn to g5. Knight to h5. Can we simply play pawn a4 here? You can, but it is losing. After pawn takes on f6 here, I guess we could take on b3 here as the most challenging line. Pawn takes, okay, now there's a checkmate over here, so pawn takes check here doesn't do anything because I'll simply just take. Yeah, things are not going well here. So, the knight jumped to h5. Alright, here we go. I challenge you to push pause. I challenge you to find the best attacking sequence. Alright, hopefully you found this really cool idea. I would have given yourself at least 10 to 20 minutes here, at least, to try and find the next attacking idea. Well, here we go. In for a penny, in for a pound. Rook takes h5, exclam. This is how you slay the dragon. Open up the position, bring your pieces in. Pawn takes, and of course, this is the idea. If you only played rook takes h5 and you didn't follow up with this move, I award you no points of this non-point game. g6 gets played, and now you see the power of this. We're going to be opening up this king side. This bishop, if it gets traded, this bishop's worth about 5 points right here. If this guy gets traded, well, the king becomes very vulnerable. And this bishop, well, it's just as strong as a rook right now as this king is just getting ready to be attacked over here. Black played pawn to e5. G takes on f7 check. Gosh, was there anything else that we could do in this position, guys? Bishop takes d4 can get played. Pawn takes an f7 check here. Oh, Fischer definitely has plenty of compensation for this. If king f8, queen takes d4, now comes a queen h8 checkmate idea. Oh, gosh. Queen to e5. Of course, we're not going to trade queens here. Queen goes back to g1. Looking at it over here. Queen g7. And, yeah, there's just so many weaknesses here. Gosh. Computer's even giving just this mean move of just bishop b6. How rude. How rude. Of course, if rook takes on c2, queen takes g7 check, king takes, and once we get a rook here, the game is over. Rook to g1 check, king h7. Yeah. The game is just not going well here, especially if your opponent can be down the exchange and just continue harassing you. That pawn on f7 is too strong in a lot of these lines. All right, so in the game, what happened? Well, the Great Dane doesn't want to trade off, so he plays pawn e5. Simple chess here. Pawn takes on f7, check again, king f8, and now, how to proceed? Again, I challenge you, push pause here. What would you play here to try and break through in this position? I will give you one hint. This bishop is the key to the defense of black. So, what do you play? So I remember someone mentioning bishop takes e5 here. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. No! Don't make trades without thinking about it. After this, queen takes e5. Black is now better, right? Guys, don't just guess moves here. You have to have a plan. Here, the simple bishop e3 is played with the idea of bishop h6. Again, once this bishop's gone, this king is going to be naked, and you can just attack it. All right, the game continued. d5. Free money, right? Pawn takes on d5. A very nice move here. Taking here is definitely way to play, but now we actually have a new triumph in this position, a passed pawn. Oof. Rook takes on f7, d6, now opening up the bishop. Rook to f6. The game pretty much plays itself here. Bishop g5, a very nice move. Not only attacking the rook, but if the rook moves away, and the game queen b7 was played, if the rook tries to move away, I mean, where does it move to actually? Oh god, I guess you could try to grab a pawn over here. Uh-oh, checkmate in 4. Bishop e7 check, king to e8, d7 check. Oh my god. King takes, queen. Oh my gosh, rook takes, and queen checkmates. Oh dear lord. Yep, this is just a very, very bad position here. Queen b7 was played. Bishop takes, d7 here. Past pawns must be pushed. Rook to d8, and here Fischer makes a mistake and plays queen d6 check here. Here in the book, he yells at himself. Can you find the checkmate that Fischer missed here? A 3-move checkmate. Why 2-move and win? Out Fischer the Fisher. Here he missed the simplistic queen h6 check, and yeah, there's nothing you can do here. If king e7, the queen simply squeezes in, and once you get to f7, it's going to be mate. If bishop blocks, I'll look at this cute little mate. Queen to d6, and the diagonals are just smiling at you. In the game, like I said, he plays. In the game, he played queen to d6 check, which is still winning here. It's just Fischer being himself, being way too hard on himself in this winning position. All right, guys. Hope you guys like this. This is Slaying the Dragon, Bobby Fischer's second game in his 60 most memorable games. I highly recommend that you buy this book. It's a very great book, and who doesn't want to know how a genius thinks, right? All right, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.